Hi, everybody. Welcome to Virtually Connecting. We are at OLC Innovate 2017, and we're excited to be speaking today with three very interesting folks. Heather Castillo, Jill Leafstedt, and Kristi O'Neill Gonzalez are joining us to talk a little bit about their presentation and then just OLC in general. We're looking forward to the conversation. So we thought we'd start first with introductions. Let's go to the virtual community first and start with AK.
Hello, everyone. My name is AK. I am coming to you from the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I wear many hats here, but my academic home is the Applied Linguistics Department.
And Kristi.
Hi, I'm Kristi Lukens. I'm the Director of Academic Technology at St. Norbert College. I used to teach instructional technology courses in the Education Department.
And I'm Kristen Eshelman. I am Director of Digital Innovation at Davidson College. I'm going to be hosting and moderating today. And I'll turn it over to Sundi Richard, who is on site, to introduce our on-site folks.
Hi, folks. I'm Sundi Richard. I'm soon to be working with Kristen, actually, at Davidson College, so I'm excited about that. Yay. And I'm very excited. I just saw these ladies' presentation, and it was great, so I'll be here as well as someone who saw things and can ask questions, but I'm going to turn it over to them to talk about what their session was about. The order of our presentation, just for our brains.
So I'm Jill Leafstedt. I'm the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning Innovations at Cal State Channel Islands, and just have the opportunity to basically introduce these two and what they were doing around humanized online learning and how it interacts with accessibility.
I'm Heather Castillo. I am Performing Arts Dance faculty at CSU Channel Islands, and I taught my first online course last fall, and with the wonderful support of these ladies and Michael Berman and the team at Channel Islands, I was really able to use and engage my side of performing arts in an online forum, but I had students who needed accommodations, and we were able to fuse those two things with the help of these wonderful ladies here.
Hi, I'm Kristi O'Neill Gonzalez, and I'm an instructional technologist and also wear many hats, so I can totally relate to you. But I'm also the CNL Innovations Accessibility Lead for faculty, which is what I do.
Great. Well, thank you guys for being here and for telling us a little bit about your presentation and what's going on at OLC today. We're hoping this will be a back and forth conversation between you and the virtual participants. But could you go ahead and give us an overview of what you talked about today?
Yeah, I think we wanted to tell the story of our philosophy on humanizing online education, creating online courses that are highly interactive, where students have the opportunity to interact with their professors as well as other students, and where they have a little bit more presence than your traditional online class, and how that interfaced with accessibility and the rules and the laws that come down around that. And we were kind of set and determined that we wouldn't let accessibility become the reason that we said no to ideas. So I'll let Heather and Kristi tell a little bit more of that story, and we've tweeted out a link to the resource site that we used in the session as well, so you can refer to a few of those.
So I took the blended learning preparation course last summer in preparation to take my dance history course online. And it only had 7 people in it. And my chair said, well, we have to cancel this class. And I said, can you give it one more week and take it online and see what happens? And it filled in one day over summer during a non-enrollment. So it also speaks to a population of students who would never normally take dance history, but took it because they needed it to fulfill some sort of requirement to graduate, or the online component fit within their schedule, and the power of online learning. But then for me, it was a personal scramble to pull together my course for online for the first time. And also, you can't really quite see here, but I can't sit still and talk. I am what I call an embodied teacher. And in fact, I capitalize on, I was a commercial dancer in a previous life. I have been a Power Ranger and a Disney princess and many other things. And so anyways, So how do I bring that into an online forum? And I had prepared all of this stuff, and then 5 days before school was supposed to start, I got an email saying that I had a student who needed visual accommodations, and a lot of visual accommodations. And I knew in my heart that the domains page I had created to make sure that my site was completely open for students so they could take the class on their cell phone, which was important to me, that it could go anywhere, was not visually appropriate. And I wasn't sure if the Padlets that I had integrated into the teaching component of my course, or how I was using the Google Docs and imagery. And so I desperately ran to Kristi and Jill and went, ah! And I wanted to also make sure that when I rolled out the course, I wasn't having to backtrack and make changes. That's not fair to the students, the student who needed an accommodation, or just any of the students. It gives them not a sense of security. So I wanted to make sure the platform was there. So with 5 days to go, we made massive changes to my course, but not the human component. We just tailored it. Everything was able to stay there, and you can see those examples on Kristi's page. But the other part of that was Jill encouraged me to actually reach out to this online student, and I was able to meet her in person and make sure that all the tools that I wanted to do and use worked for her. And so instantly made a human connection with her to ensure that all of the things that I had planned would work for her.
Yeah. So you didn't offer two versions of the course. So it was one version shared by all the students, correct?
Yes, correct.
It was available in our LMS, but most of them used the open site.
Yeah, so I primarily had the course organized in Google Docs. They knew that they had to access the instructions in Google Doc, in a Google Doc each week, but they could access that through our domain site or the LMS. And the reason for that is my students had, over the years, said using an LMS on a mobile device away from campus is really challenging. And in an online course, I wanted to make sure that, so I created a domains page so that when they were off campus or using cellular data, that it would be easy for them to access the information. So that was sort of the base structure of how students access the course.
So, and obviously this is open to anyone. Kristi, AK, if you want to jump in. I'm curious, when you talk about, sorry.
Your sound is really crazy. It's like crackly. Are other people hearing that or just us?
I'm hearing it, but I wasn't sure if it was on our side or yours.
It stopped. So, sorry.
Okay.
Take that off again, please.
I think it's picking up something in the room.
In our
Possibly. Though let's just see how I don't hear it right now, so I think it's okay. Are you hearing it?
No, it's not
Okay.
anymore. So go ahead with what you were saying, please.
Oh, I was just wanting to hear a little bit more about the humanized side of your course, how you approached that. What was your philosophy, and how did that philosophy translate into design?
Okay, so I'm going to try to show you guys these on my cell phone because I think that will be the easiest. But it started with, as a former professional performer, one of the things that you realize to be successful is you have to be completely vulnerable, completely open. And we have a saying called shameless, fearless, not reckless. And so when I teach a live version of dance history, I have the students pull out something to write with, and I literally put my like iPhone on shuffle, put on a song, and whatever comes out, comes out. And I'll like run around the room, and I'll do crazy things, and I'll dive, and I'll do like some silly interpretive dance, and I'll have them write about it and then share in the room. And the point of that being is that most of what we know about dance history comes from not watching it, but what people wrote about it. But that individual perspective is very subjective and can be skewed about what we're studying. It's an important idea to understand right away, especially for people who don't dance. But how do you do that in an online format? Like, how do you reach out and immediately make something that is so important to the course? Because I can't like jump into their living rooms and do an interpretive dance, or can you? Or can you? And so I had just learned, here it is, I had just learned VoiceThread. And And so as I talk, hold on, turn, phone, turn. I can figure this out and I'll hold it for you. Okay, but we want to see it in the other. Yeah, there we go. So, wait, up there. Okay, so I made this little video, which is actually me giving them instructions for VoiceThread. I didn't say a word. And you're getting my tweets. Sorry. And I instructed them to watch this video and then go into VoiceThread and write about what they're about to see. And not read anyone else's until after they had posted their comment, and then go back and read the comments. And the idea was for them to see all the different perspectives, and they totally got it. They actually took it much more seriously than I did. So I'm going to fast forward to the part that's really entertaining.
It does? Okay, good.
Okay, good. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear it, but it is the Jaws theme. So imagine you're waiting for your course, to become available, but instead you get this email from your instructor, start here. And this is what you see. And it's not supposed to be good. And in fact, I just improv it. Like,
This is my favorite part.
yes.
That's awesome.
So, sorry, so the first part was for me and always to be vulnerable, and this is not a group of students who dance or have any interest in dance. Remember how they all enrolled and signed up. And for so many of my students, they had conveyed that this was their first online course. I conveyed that it was my first time teaching an online course. But then it continued. How, in all of my lectures, I had what I called like a cold open, like Saturday Night Live. I wanted them to be excited about coming into their lecture before I gave content. And I gave, content, but it usually started with something.
Did you guys hear that we were having a doga party today? Doga, doga.
This is on Greek dance.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah, we're gonna learn all about the Greeks. Miss Heather said so. Toga, toga, Elmo.
I know.
Toga, Elmo. What are you doing? Elmo, are you talking to all of our nice friends in class at home? Yeah, I am. You said we were gonna talk about the Greeks today. So we're in college, so toga, toga, toga. Well, Elmo, we are going to talk about the Greeks today, but
So
we're going to talk about.
I also,
We might want to hand it over to them.
Yeah.
To see if they have any questions
Yes.
at this point.
yes.
So AK and Kristi, do you have any questions?
More of a comment. The Jaws theme didn't kick in for me up until maybe 5-6 seconds after the dance started.
Yeah.
So I was thinking if this were a, I don't know how familiar you are with the original Star Trek,
Yes, I'm a Trekkie.
but the combat music when Kirk fights a Gorn or any other enemy for that matter, they da 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 jingle.
That should be your next.
That would have been a completely different interpretation of that dance, especially this part. That could have been some sort
Right, like Klingon or something. But I also, so what you should know is I did not go into that knowing the Jaws music was going to come up. I treated it like I treated my live class. So I was like, I had done the thing, I had gone shuffle, and I went play, and I just, that's what came out. I was like, oh, Jaws, oh, okay, shark. Like in my head, that's a skill set that I've worked to develop. So it might look like it was very intentional, but it wasn't. So, I mean, if the Star Trek theme came, you know, the combat, I have lots of Star Wars. I have toddlers. Had it been, you know, Teletubby music, I would have done that. I mean, you know, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. If it had been something, you know, Beyonce and twerking, I would have done that too. Like, so yeah.
Makes me think of interesting icebreakers for my summer course.
Yeah. My thought is the more vulnerable and human you are. I had so many students who were parents, and they had said that to me. And I had introduced my sons in the course early on. Like, I was like, hey, I'm coming in. I'm just doing a check-in. I got my son here. How you doing? And so I was like, I'm a parent too, without saying that. Like, I get where you guys are at. And so that life is hard to juggle. And so I think the more human you are, those students, whether they need accommodations or life just kind of backs up, if the most important thing is you're learning, you're going to make decisions about that student's learning. And sometimes that means understanding that life does not always go how we plan. And particularly our students who are taking a course online might have more things to juggle. And that is the reason they're in that format. And so the more you can be like, hey, I'm a human. I'm not just this person behind here. Look at me being outside my comfort zone. They'll go with you.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I've always thought of teaching as a performance anyway. Most of the time in class, it's some sort of performance, but the way you're doing it with that degree of vulnerability seems to make you more approachable, more personable. I'm curious from Kristi and Jill's perspectives, doing design work with other courses online, how did you see this compare, that kind of approach?
Well, if you know Heather in person, you know that anything she does is going to have her own flair to it, which is fabulous. But I think it provides us with a great example of how vulnerable you can be in this environment. And for some people, that might mean just merely letting their dog walk into the room when they're shooting a video, right? But really understanding that perfection is not what we're going for if we want to connect with our students. So I think Heather's unique because she's a unique individual. And she's willing to let that show. But the lesson that she has taught us is really about the performance aspect and how important that is to have a tad bit of entertainment there. Now, her lectures are very strong. They're full of content. They're real. There's real information. But by grabbing people's attention, coming out of education, we talk about the anticipatory set, right? We have a word for it. They call it a cold open in performing arts.
But Saturday Night Live calls it a cold open.
That's a cold Saturday Night Live. So I think it is very different, but she's provided us with some amazing examples of how real you can be in that environment to try to bring some other people along.
Yeah, but you also did it look like it was in your house maybe or your office, and production values were not like the main concern. I have this argument a lot with folks who are doing online learning here about whether or not the production values matter. I mean, we know they don't really matter for learning. They're nice,
Yep.
But it seems like, I wonder to what degree, maybe Kristi could answer this question, to what degree that change in production values maybe also contributes to the human side of learning.
I mean, I think there's personality there.
If at all.
Well, for me, it's phenomenal working with Heather. But for me, I always come in, my approach is meet them where they're at and kind of see where they are, and then decide from there how technical I want to get or what recommendations I want to make. So if I can get them to make a video and they want to do it in our studio in a booth with a boring background, fine. If I can get you to do it in your office and I'll bring technology to you and you want to do it there, fine. Whatever, as long as you get what you need to say out and you feel good about it, then we're good. And you're taking that risk in your own level. This may be super extreme for a lot of people. They may not want to go all the time. So if you just being on the camera is taking you out of your comfort zone, that for me is a positive step. Because they're like, oh, I don't want to hear myself, and oh, I don't want to look at myself, and oh, my chins, and oh, this and that. If I can just get them to be on the camera saying, hi guys, we're in an online class, you're never gonna meet me, but I'm me, you know, like I'm human. I may not get back to you as soon as I can, but it's because I have kids and I have a dog and I have to travel to Spain during the semester and whatever else, you know.
Yeah. But you have to have almost a one-sided conversation, and it's hard because you're not always getting that response. But, you know, in my lectures, I was just talking like I was talking to my students. I didn't go into like, hi, I am now giving a presentation. I was like, so there's this. And I'm sure anyone who walked by my office assumed that there were other people in there, you know.
Question.
Yeah.
So your lectures, did
Yes.
you do them all beforehand, or did you do a few and then wait to find out who your students were and then do others so that they were going towards those students?
So because of the last minute online part, I was doing my lectures like almost week to week because the class wasn't online, and just getting all of the structure and sort of all the materials into an e-reserve situation and accessible, and the Google Docs and the Padlets and the structure. I had all of that, but actually I had to do the lectures week to week. I am teaching early dance history next fall. I'm doing it all over summer because the workload on top of having to grade and also simultaneously create those lectures was a lot of work. And by the end, I felt like I had gotten less creative, but more personable because I knew my students. So on one hand, it was great that the lectures were sort of made with them, but at the same time, but then you lose the benefit of being able to teach that class again. You have to make some decisions about yourself about workload. But I always did like a weekly check-in that was very live and personable. Like I just pulled up my phone wherever I was at with my kids or anything. So, and I mean, can we show the hair one? I didn't get to show these during the presentation. So.
She was very sad she didn't get to show them, so you are getting them all. So as you percolate some questions,
Here.
Maybe we'll let her show one more.
But this is about production values, actually. And so I was trying to figure out how to teach how to teach the Renaissance, how to open up Renaissance dance. And I was getting my hair done and someone comes to my house. It's like chaos, but.
Why, hello. And like all of us, work-life balance is a challenge. So today, I come to you from our lecture regarding the Renaissance while my hair is also going through a renaissance. From its dark roots to more enlightened hues, the Renaissance was about dance also as an art, moving from the dark ages to a more enlightened time. And through this, my children are also going through their own Renaissance. Come here, Dee. Come say hi.
Hi,
Hi, this is my son, Diego.
this is my son Diego.
Yes. And he's going through his own Renaissance. You want to show them what you drew today? Show them your tummy. Show them your tummy. Yes. His tummy went through a Renaissance today. And this is my son, Lucas. Say hi, Lucas.
Hi, Lucas.
Lucas, can you say hi? Can you say hi?
So, I mean, clearly there is no production value at all, but my videos, my lectures would get 3 or 4 times the hits of like the amount of students in class. So
Yeah, that's fantastic. Hey, Kristi, did you have any questions you wanted to ask or comments?
Well, you've kind of asked them, they've been asked already, but when I first signed up for this V-Connecting session, and by the way, I sent it to another one of my colleagues who taught an online clothing history course for the first time. And so I sent this V-Connecting session to her as well. She was like, cool, but wasn't able to join. I'm anxious to show her the recording. I thought it initially was a dance performance class. So I'm curious, when you've taught this face-to-face, with it being a dance history class, did you have students doing anything, any movement?
Typically not. I mean, sometimes I'll ask them to get out of their chair and sort of experience something, but it really is a history course. I usually trick them in the end to doing movement, and I actually have an example of, in an online forum, I actually did ask these students to share on VoiceThread movement as a wrap-up to the course, that even though they weren't dancers or maybe even able to recall like movement of Balanchine, specifically different things, but that they had so much knowledge about their own culture through the dance and movements that they share. And so I had them play a game called Dance Charades, where they were to get on and do a dance that they knew, and then the other students were supposed to go in and guess what it was. It was a really fun way to wrap up the course. And I actually have on the site, if you go and look at the video example, you can see it. It's really powerful that these students who don't dance, and they even gave me permission to share it with you guys. Like, that's how fearless they are about it. But I have moms dancing with their children. I have new dads doing Thriller. Like, it's really, and then at the end of it, I have a student who was just telling the class good luck on finals and I bless you all, and was really free to be who she was and connect. They had really meaningful conversations that often had nothing to do with the class with each other. And I think that's important. I mean, it made them want to come in and connect to each other.
So guys, thank you. We're actually getting toward the end of the session, and I thought it would be nice to hear from each of you, if you don't mind, just giving us, you know, 1 or 2 sentences of advice for those of us who are thinking about making our online courses more human. What would you recommend?
We're gonna fill in the blanks there because your sound went out. But I mean, I think that to put yourself out there, be vulnerable is the #1 thing. Let your personality show, be present, and interact, whatever that looks like. You know, whether you're out there dancing and putting on a show, or if you're just who you are.
Interviewing your cat.
Interviewing your cat, okay.
Yeah. Well, but to trust yourself, that who you are as a human being is meaningful and powerful, and you are a unique human being that has really wonderful stories to share. You were a student once. You know, you can relate. You see your students in discussion boards. You know if they are in your major or not. There's so many ways that you can engage and connect them, but they're not going to let down their wall unless you do it first.
And I would just add, as the accessibility person, I'm happy to get on Twitter and blast out that it is possible to be both human and accessible, because we all know it's not possible to be 100% accessible. But it doesn't mean that there's not changes and small little things that can make huge impacts on people, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah.
And I just want to say too that the link that got sent out, Kristi has some great tips, just like 5 small tips that she put on there about making your course accessible. They're awesome. So take a look at that as well.
I just want to dovetail on the accessibility part because it's really easy for me to get wrapped up in the human part. But if it were not for the accessibility part, my human part would have actually made everything very jumbled and hard to understand and not tangible. So by making it accessible and organized, allowed me to have that human creativity, if that makes sense. So I feel that they pair really well. It's not even a matter of can they, it's they must.
That's fantastic. That's a great note to end on. Thanks, everybody, for coming to this session. We really appreciate your time and your insights. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you, virtual participants. Bye, everybody.